Hey there, party people. I'm pretty sure we can all agree that costume dresses for servants in Fate Grand Order is an amazing feature. It gives more of a variety to change up how your servant looks outside of just the 3 Ascension costumes that we get, allowing the servant to feel a lot more personal to you because you get more options to choose which one you like best, and that's going to be different from what someone else will pick. Granted, that's it in theory, because, let's be real, there's not as many costumes in the game as there really should be, and even then, it's 50-50 on whether they're actually good or not. I've actually already given my opinion on what I think are good and bad costumes in a tier list video that you can check out in this link in the iCard. But for this video, I'm going to be talking about the top 10 costumes that just kind of absolutely baffle me how they're not in the game yet. And that's the idea. These are costumes that should be in the game, that should be options. Not so much things that I want to be costumes, though obviously there is overlap, it's a Venn diagram. And to prove that point further, Melusine is actually not on this list. So I am trying to be unbiased here, though as it is a list of opinions, there is definitely bias in how I ordered them. I may have missed some, so if I have on this list, let me know in the comments what costumes you believe should be in the game, that they make no sense to not have in the game yet. But to start off the list, number 10 is Illya install costumes. Now, this one is the first entry on the list because admittedly it is the weakest on the list. Partially, it is just a kind of cool factor because it would be cool to see the characters from Illya dressed in these servant costumes that they appear in throughout the shows and especially the movies, because some of them do have really cool designs, like Illya as Artoria. That is a sick looking costume. But this one is at the very bottom of the list because it's more just it's so easy, why don't they do it? Rather than I am just kind of floored over the fact that they don't. Though, I will say this is the only one where I'm not confused about that fact. Every other entry on this list, I do offer confusion. Starting with number 9, a Letitia costume for Jeanne d'Arc. Mordred got her Apocrypha costume, so why not Jeanne? It's as simple as that, and that is also going to be the logic for a lot of these entries. This next one is probably a bit contentious, just based on where it is on the list. It's number 8, Hawaiian shirt coup. It is an iconic look that fans have been clamoring for since costumes were introduced, basically. They just have to drop it and you will get an uproar of yays and hoorays from fans and just slapping it on coup as fast as possible. I know I will, even though it's so low on the list. And that of course leads into the next one, Stay Night costumes for the rest of the Stay Night girls. Because, holy hell, why do we only have Sakura with Pumbarii? That's insane to me. We should have a Illya costume for Sitanai, a Rin costume for Ishtar. I think Ereshkigal can probably get extra Rin. That'd be interesting. That's kind of a 7.5, I guess. And then Saber's outfit, either the skirt or the yellow raincoat, whichever. Both are good options. Both are so obvious costumes. And this is much more of an affront based purely on the fact that we already have Sakura's costume. And again, you could also have Dark Sakura for Kama. As fundamentally, there's just no reason for these not to be in the game. The next one is in the game, though, technically. And that's Elizabeth Japan. Now, the argument can be made that this can be another version of Liz for Halloween, like maybe a Berserker version. That'd be fine. But right now, just based on how many times the quote-unquote character of Elizabeth Japan has popped up, I think a costume might work better narratively. And it's just like, why? You have the asset. You have the entire range of emotions. Just give her the costume. And more egregious than that is number 5, all the costumes in Ordeal Call 2. Yes, spoilers, all that fun stuff. Do you really care? There are so many costumes in this event. There's so many expression sheets that were made that are going to just die here. Like, how can you do this? Whose decision was it that, no, you can't have these as costumes? They are locked under story only. Whosever decision that was, you are my enemy. But I do have a bigger enemy. Because number 4 is an actual bunny version of Ryugu Shiki, Saber. And this one it does lean more towards bias, but it comes down to the fact of how egregious the bunny costume for Shiki has, that it should not exist the way it does, and it flabbergasts me that they didn't make a proper one, because right now, she has 3 costumes. Each are just her normal ascensions, with bunny ears just stuck on. Do you understand how many mats that is? How much of an absolute waste of materials to get those for nothing, basically? This is number 4 on this list of costumes that are needed in Fate Grand Order, based purely because of how absolute dog shit they made the 3 quote-unquote costumes. And you can call this a want all you want, because I do like Ryugu Shiki. I will die on this hill that this is just, even if I didn't like the character, even if you don't like the character, you should be mad about this and want her to have a proper costume. Or I would even accept no costume at all. But the fact that we do have a costume, I think it should have been changed to an actual costume. But now we're going back to easy slam dunk costumes that make no sense why they don't have it. And that is a Shiro Emiya costume for Muramasa. Golden Boy Shiro. Why doesn't he have an actual costume for Muramasa? And it goes back to the Stay Night Girls thing, but you know what I'm saying. Personally, with my bias intact, I want it to be Oath Under Snow Shiro more than anything. But that part is the bias. The fact that it's not a Shiro costume, period, is weird to me. Now, number 2, I think mixes pretty much every problem I've had together so far. And that is Artoria Pendragon in a suit. Because that A is an easy slam dunk. B, we already have the asset for it. We already have the expression sheet for it. And C, she was given a costume, Invisible Air, and in my humble opinion, that is a dog shit bullshit costume. I don't care about your goddamn nostalgia. It is just a fusion of her first and second ascension. It is a complete waste of mats. Why do we not have Saber in a suit? And honestly, without any bias involved, this would be number 1. So I do admit I am colored with bias in number 1. Number 1, realistically, should probably be number 10. But this is my channel, I get to talk about what I want. And number 1 is an Abigail Williams costume that lets us actually use her cool noble Phantasm animation without having her be naked. Because, let's be quite real here, Abigail Williams' second and third ascensions can make people very uncomfortable for understandable reasons. Yes, she's a cartoon character, and no one is actually getting hurt by it. But still, it is very uncomfortable imagery. So, it is very annoying that if you want to see the far superior and, quite frankly, beautiful noble Phantasm that she has, you have to have her in one of those 2 ascensions. So, I think it's only right and should happen that she have a costume that lets you see that noble Phantasm without her being in her birthday suit. That's not a big ask. And I do want to reiterate, yes, bias put this at number 1, unbiased it should be at number 10, but I do think that this deserves a place on this list wherever you want to put it. Purely just because she has shifting noble phantasms. And I don't think a feature like that should be restricted to what you are comfortable looking at. But hey, maybe you disagree, and that's fine, that's your right. Put in the comments. I am very interested to find out your opinions. This was a very off-the-cuff video, as you can probably tell by how I handle talking, and I don't really talk too well without a script. My thoughts just kind of go this way and that way all over the place. I'm usually just better with organized thoughts where I just know what I'm talking about. Here I just have short blurbs for the 10 that I want to talk about. Still, I do hope you enjoyed this video and will like it and subscribe to the channel for more Fate content. Hopefully I will have a Avengers video out next week. Cross your fingers, I'm waiting on an asset that's taking a bit longer than expected. If it's not that, it's going to be about Dragon Girls. So either way, a fun video next week. And hopefully Fate Grand Order will just drop a whole bunch of costumes for their anniversary. And we get a lot of good ones, and maybe a good chunk of the ones on this list. Fingers crossed. But with all that said, thank you so much for watching, and I'll catch you next time in the Void. Later.